From the outside, Caitriona Balfe's life looked perfect. The red carpets, the awards, the radiant smile that never seemed to fade. She was the elegant, graceful star who had everything. But behind that calm, polished image was a woman quietly battling a pain that few ever noticed, and even fewer ever truly understood. When she finally decided to open up, it wasn't a press conference or a media spectacle. It happened in a quiet interview, her voice low and fragile. "There were days," she whispered, "when I smiled for the cameras but couldn't speak to anyone afterward." Those words hit fans like a wave. For years, Caitríona had carried herself with strength, the perfect blend of class and resilience. But now, she was revealing the cracks beneath the surface, the emotional exhaustion of being admired by millions yet feeling deeply alone. Her journey began long before Outlander made her a household name. As a young woman, she had lived the relentless rhythm of the fashion industry, the endless travel, the criticism, the silent comparisons. She learned to wear confidence like armor. When she transitioned into acting, Outlander became her breakthrough, and suddenly, the world couldn't stop watching her. But fame is a double-edged sword. The brighter the spotlight, the darker the shadows it casts. Caitríona once said, "People think success makes you stronger, but sometimes it just makes your fears louder." Those fears, of failure, of not being enough, of losing herself, began to grow louder than applause. Every smile became a performance, every interview a balancing act between truth and expectation. And yet, she never let it show. To her fans, Caitríona was radiant, confident, untouchable. But behind closed doors, she was quietly unraveling. It was during the later seasons of Outlander that those closest to her began to notice something different. She wasn't sleeping well, her energy was fading. Even on set, between takes, she often retreated to a corner, lost in thought. One day, a crew member found her sitting quietly on a bench, eyes distant, as if somewhere far away. That was when Sam Heughan noticed too. They had worked together for nearly a decade, shared laughs, long days, and countless interviews. But that day, Sam saw something he hadn't before, a kind of sadness that couldn't be hidden behind professionalism. He didn't ask questions, he just sat beside her, silent, present. For Caitríona, that small gesture meant everything. "Sam has this ability to just be there," she would later say in an interview. "Sometimes, that's all you need." People outside the set loved to speculate about their chemistry, spinning endless rumors about secret feelings and hidden romances. But the truth was far quieter, far more profound. What connected them wasn't romance, it was understanding. They had both lived through the cost of fame, through the loneliness of being constantly seen but rarely known. Around that time, Caitríona faced a deeply personal loss, one she never spoke of publicly until much later. It was a period of silence, grief, and confusion. She kept working, kept smiling, kept giving everything to her role, even when her heart was breaking inside. She would come to set like nothing happened, a crew member recalled. But you could tell, there was something behind her eyes, something she was holding back. When she finally spoke about it, she didn't name the pain. She didn't have to. The emotion in her voice said everything. "There are moments in life," she said softly, "when you realize how fragile everything really is. And sometimes, you have to keep moving because stopping would mean breaking." That was the Caitríona the world didn't see, the woman who carried her pain with quiet dignity, who kept showing up even when her heart felt heavy. Through it all, Sam remained her steady presence, a constant in the whirlwind. Whenever things got too heavy, he was the one reminding her to breathe, to take a step back, to protect her peace. And when the weight of everything finally became too much, when she could no longer hide the pain that had been building for years, Sam was there. When Caitríona finally decided to speak about the pain she had carried for so long, it wasn't to make headlines or to gain sympathy. It was to breathe, to let the truth out quietly, without filters. Sitting in a soft chair during a recent interview, she looked down for a moment before saying, "I spent years hiding my sadness because I thought it made me weak." It wasn't fame that hurt her most. It was the loneliness that came with it, The constant demand to be strong, to be perfect, to be the version of herself everyone wanted to see. For years, she carried that weight alone, smiling through heartbreaks, keeping her private life sealed behind polite answers and professional grace. The truth she revealed was simple yet devastating. She had been struggling with grief, the loss of someone close to her, a person she never publicly named. It was a loss that came quietly, without warning, in the middle of her busiest years. "I couldn't stop working," she said. "I thought if I just kept going, maybe I wouldn't feel it. But pain doesn't disappear just because you're pretending it's not there." She recalled long nights in hotel rooms between shoots, lying awake and wondering if this was the price of success, to give everything to the world and keep nothing for yourself. "There were moments," she admitted, "when I would walk on set and feel like a stranger in my own skin." During those months, it was Sam Heughan who quietly became her anchor. He never asked for explanations, never pushed her to talk. He just showed up, she said with a faint smile. "Sometimes he'd leave coffee at my trailer door before I arrived. Sometimes he'd text a line from the script, something funny, just to make me laugh. He was there without needing to be seen." Their bond was built not on romantic gestures, but on something much rarer, genuine empathy. In a world obsessed with labels and speculation, Sam and Caitríona found safety in the unspoken. They didn't need to define what they were to understand what they meant to each other. "People like to make stories," Caitríona said softly. "But the real story is simple. He's my friend, and he's been my rock more times than I can count." It was during one especially difficult week that Caitríona finally allowed herself to cry in front of him. They had just finished filming a particularly emotional scene, one that mirrored her real feelings far too closely. When the director called cut, she turned away, hiding her face. Sam approached, rested a hand on her shoulder, and said quietly, "You don't have to hold it in anymore." That was the moment the walls came down. She cried, not as an actress, not as a public figure, but as a human being who had carried too much for too long. Sam didn't say anything else. He just stayed, silent, steady, and kind. "I think we all have that one person who reminds us it's okay to fall apart," Caitríona later said. "For me, that person was Sam." After that day, something began to shift. She started to talk more openly, not about the details of her pain, but about the importance of vulnerability. She began advocating for mental health awareness, often reminding fans that, you never know what someone is carrying behind their smile. Her healing wasn't quick. There were still moments when she felt herself slipping into old patterns, overworking, avoiding stillness. But she learned to stop and breathe, to let herself be imperfect. "I used to think strength meant not crying," she said. "Now I know that real strength is letting yourself feel." Sam's support never wavered, even when the rumors returned, twisting their friendship into something it wasn't. They both chose silence over defense. "We know who we are," she said firmly. "We don't owe explanations to anyone." Years later, looking back, Caitríona described that period as both the hardest and most transformative chapter of her life. It taught her that healing doesn't always come with closure. Sometimes it comes from being seen, truly seen, by someone who asks for nothing in return. As the interview ended, Caitríona smiled, a real smile this time, one that reached her eyes. "I think," she said, "the pain I hid was part of me for a long time. But now, it's something I understand, not something that controls me." And just before the lights dimmed, she added one last line, the kind of sentence that lingers long after it's spoken. "When everything fell apart, he was there. And sometimes, that's all you need."